Dave.
No. Alright.
Whoops.
Let me go. Go on. And action.
Hard traditional rock climbing is a serious game. Those who play it face just about the hardest climbing there is, in situations where failure could mean injury or even death. Respected by climbers all around the world, the hard trad scene in Britain is simply unique.
Being able to put yourself in a situation where you might die or really hurt yourself, that is a specific skill that some people have.
The fear and adrenaline actually drives some motors that make you kind of climb better. I'm sure I've climbed better when I've been miles above crap gear when I've practiced a route than I've actually climbed when I've been top roping the route. I'm sure I've actually got in a kind of zone where I'm climbing really, really well. It's almost zen-like.
That felt as good as the first time, 25 years ago. Bloody hell, that's hard. Cool. Top job.
You know, I mean, I always knew from the beginning that I wasn't really that brilliant an overall climber. I just knew that if I could do something, I could do it in a lethal situation.
Well, when you're actually in the moment of the lead on a head point, time feels like it doesn't really exist. All your feelings of what's right now, decisions right now, and thoughts about the future and the past and everything all melds into one. It's a different reality that you don't experience from anything else.
It does really, really interest me, this idea of how so many people can do it, but they don't seem to hurt themselves. And that, you know, I have asked some people who've done, you know, really hard, bold things, what's going through your head the morning that, you know, before you do it. And they just say, oh, well, you know, I just felt like I could do it. It kind of seems a mystery to me, though. I don't know why nobody gets hurt either.
In this film, we follow top climbers of the modern era on a journey through hard trad. It's a year of groundbreaking first ascents and audacious repeats, of classic test pieces from the past and adventurous new routes. From the idyllic islands and sea cliffs of Scotland to the short gritstone test pieces of northern England, to the mountains of Ireland and Wales, and then back to where we start out, at an urban crag on the flanks of a Scottish castle. This landmark climbing year started with Dave MacLeod's astounding ascent of Rhapsody at Dumbarton Rock. The strict ethics of trad climbing mean that no bolts are used. All the protection must be placed by the climber while they are on the lead. When protection is unreliable or widely spaced, the number of the E grade rises. On Rhapsody, for the first time ever, a route was to include the unthinkable combination of the hardest sustained and technical moves, together with the prospect of a truly horrific fall.
Oh, you fucking beauty.
With Dave's success, the new grade of E11 was born.
Yes! Oh! Yes!
James Pearson is another climber breaking through to new standards. Most of his time is spent bouldering, and in this discipline he has quickly achieved world-class status. In 2006, he became the only boulderer in the world to flash the grade of V13. He's now done this twice. But trad continues to hold a strong appeal for the new generation of top climbers, and James is no exception. James already has one E10 ascent under his belt, Equilibrium at Burbage, climbed when he was just 19. Two years on, he wants to leave his own mark and is eyeing up the Peak District's last great unclimbed lines.
I wanted to put up my own really hard route, my own E10. Just sort of almost to try and leave my mark. You do a long move to get to quite a bad sloper. I fell off there loads on top rope. If you get the slope and you're not good on it, you know you're not going to do the move and you can't reverse and you can't escape. It would be a horrible position to be in on the lead. Building up to it over the last couple of weeks, I haven't been looking forward to trying to lead it. It's been really worrying for me. The only gear on the route is a tiny sliding nut, and although I don't think it would hold a fall, it gave me a little bit more confidence.
The Promise was the first really hard route that I've seen him do. I wasn't too sure whether I wanted to be there or not. If you are there, then I suppose you're there and it might help them do it. It does scare me and I'm like, oh.
She's a star. Yeah, she's always really good to me because I'm kind of useless. So she always looks after me, brings me like bits of chocolate to keep me going, and I just turn up at the crag with nothing, just my gear.
Come on.
Come on. Come on. Come on, James.
I think I'm going to call it the Promise for various reasons. Some are quite soppy, I won't go into them, but yeah, I think I'll call it the Promise.
After E11, life would never be quite the same again for Dave MacLeod. Suddenly, he became well known within the climbing community worldwide, and in Britain, the press and TV news clamoured for the story.
We're off to Ireland to try Divided Years. I've been training for 2 months. I'm hardly lifted flat since I did Rhapsody. So I'm well psyched. Can't wait. I just want to get on it now. So.
John Dunn put up Divided Years when he was living in Northern Ireland in the mid-90s.
I was living in Belfast at the time. My girlfriend was studying at the university there. I remember one day going into the Moor Mountains with a couple of friends from Belfast, and I just remember seeing this arête coming into view, and it got bigger and bigger and bigger, and I'm like, oh my God, there's one of the most gobsmacking arêtes I've ever seen anywhere.
Rhapsody was like the end of a period of about 3 years for me where I did nothing but work on really hard first descents and hardly did any other climbing. But now I've completed that, I'm going to go out and try and repeat some more routes again. So coming here to do Divided Years is the first one. I had one night on it last night, just working the moves, just had a couple of hours since we got here pretty late, and it was a good day, I got all the moves done, and then today I've had a full session in the shunt and got all the moves completely sussed. All the ascents, the 2 ascents so far, I've had pre-placed gear on the crux because there's really good wires, but it's really hard to stop and place them. You're stopping them and placing right in the middle of like a French 80 plus or 8B crux. So that's kind of hard, but I really want to do it placing the gear on lead. And what you have is easy climbing up to a big cluster of cams. None of them are all that good, but together they're quite good gear, really. The main difficulty of Divided Years is really physical climbing through this crux bulge, and the problem is that you need to get protection in right in the middle of those moves. After placing the wire, it's still hard for another 15 feet until you get to this slot, and you have to press out the slot and come into a layback. And as soon as you come into the layback, the route's done, and you can just enjoy it to the top.
Yeah, go on, Dave.
yeah, it's one of the best routes I've ever done, basically. It's fantastic. It's just the line of the crag. It's incredible. It's long, perfect quality. This big overhanging prow, and you just couldn't have designed it better with a line of holds running right up the edge of it. It's great.
A decade ago, the prow at Black Rocks was one of Gritstone's last great unclimbed lines. It became immortalised when Seb Greaves, climbing in front of the cameras, made the impressive first ascent, a fitting finale to the film Hard Grit. This serious route was named Meshuggah, meaning madness. A decade on, and it continues to inspire, a major test piece for aspirant hard gritters. And Neil Mawson is one such candidate.
Get a good look at him.
You're the second man who's taken that fall.
I know, yeah. Can't believe I fell off that lake.
Another hard Gritstone aspirant is the Australian Ben Cossey. Having been in the country for just 2 months, his appetite to climb anything and everything is quite insatiable.
Well, it's called Simba's Pride, and it was put up by my friend, I think, 2 years ago or something, Toby Ben. Yeah, I started climbing with him, and I think the original route goes up, there, and then left into the crack out left, but Toby was like, stuff that, and sort of main line goes straight up the arete, so he thought maybe he'd give that a lash, and did it, I think, in the snow 2 years ago or something like that. He's one of those people that you're like, oh man, yep, Toby, he's gonna die one day.
I'll stick these guys.
And I told him I'd do it, and then, so I have to go and do it.
And it's all over now, baby blue.
It is unprotectable, so to solo climb without ropes is the only option.
I just got, should be.
Sweet.
Baby. So much worry for not much. So funny when you sort of like mid-route go, ah, shit. Oh well. What should I do now? Yeah, thanks.
Dave MacLeod has spent the autumn concentrating on hard sport climbing, but with the arrival of winter, it's time to turn his attention back to trad. By January, he's in the Peak District, checking out the 3 routes graded E10. Dave decides to look at 2 of these, Blind Vision at Froggatt and Equilibrium at Burbage South. But on the first trip to the peak, he manages only 20 minutes on each route.
I think this is day 9 of our Peak District trips, and so far I think I've got less than 3 hours climbing done. So little climbing, so much time in cafes. How many round trips across the UK can you do for 15 metres of gritstone?
Dave prefers the harder but less tenuous moves of Blind Vision, but manages only 2 hours on the route between showers. The lower half of the route is a boulder problem in its own right. The top half is thin face climbing. A tiny cam in a small seam is critical.
Well, the route starts at this boulder problem called Slingshot that is done by Jerry Moffat. The first move is like you stand up on some ledges and it's really steep, and you do this huge jump off the ground, and you have to catch this finger edge. And it's really hard to actually hold on to it and hold the swing. And that was supposed to be the hardest move in the world when it was done. British 7B. This is trip number 3, extreme day trip this time. Got up at 5:30, 5 hours in the car. Well, so much for our perfect forecast. It's very frustrating, it's just not happening again. Can't believe it.
With little daylight left, the rain finally relents. After wiping off the holds, Dave has a quick warm-up. The very top of the route is worrying him. The moves are easier, but runoff from the top keeps making the finishing hold wet. With the light now fading fast, Dave really needs to land that starting move quickly. It's getting dark now. Dave climbs up to place the cam, then returns to the ledge. The clock is ticking. He takes 5 minutes to compose himself. Then it's decision time.
That was one of the scariest leads I've ever done. so dark. I couldn't see the foothills, I just had to feel them, but it's amazing. Oh, I'm really glad I did that. That's the most adrenaline I've had in ages. It's like, must go now, can't wait even for a minute. It's like, are you making the right decision? Are you making the right decision? Is this stupid? Yes! Yeah, you did it. Oh yeah, major buzz, man. That was scary as fuck.
It's pitch black.
It's dark, man.
Eventually, the Peak District dries out. James Pearson is working on yet another last great unclimbed line at Crackcliff.
Tried it at the start of, or at the end of last year, and managed to do the last move, and yeah, and then this is a sort of first time this year I've been on it, and again managed to do the moves but not linked it. The conditions are just always poor.
In the full glare of the sun, the friction rapidly deteriorates. The team pack up and head to the shade of Black Rocks.
Come on.
Not content with Angel's share, Adam now wants to take the remaining routes on the slam. Kev Shields from the west coast of Scotland is pushing more unusual limits. Despite having much of his left hand missing, he manages climbs that most of us could only dream of. Kev's motivations for hard climbing are complex. For many years he felt a need to prove himself to other climbers. Even though he's moved on from that stage, Kev is still addicted to climbing harder and harder routes. Placing gear is difficult, so he chooses bold lines with little gear, or dispenses with the rope completely.
Yes.
On the granite outcrops of the Mourne Mountains in Northern Ireland, Kev has picked out a typically bold line to attempt. The only protection is low down, and the hardest moves appear to be near the top.
Like probably most climbers, I started hill walking at a really young age, and then started scrambling. I was 19, I think, was the first scramble that I went and done Cove Ridge. Just when I went and done that, I realised, wow, I can actually hold these things, and standing at the top of the buckle was just phenomenal. Like it just switched something on. Folk have been talking about me getting whether I feel as if I've got to prove myself, and I suppose up until recently I kind of thought I had to prove myself, but now I'm thinking, who am I trying to prove myself to? I don't think it's anybody out there. I think it's like a personal battle in my own head that's constantly going on with these things. There'd probably been a disabled climber as well, as I was that extra thing kind of pushing you to try harder and harder things and stuff like that, so well, maybe I'm just stupid as well, I don't know, it could be any amount of things. It's a strange thing with climbing, it's not like with skydiving. If I go and do that I can get a buzz and it's bang like that and it lasts for a while after it, but with climbing you don't get the buzz probably until I'll be sitting at home tonight having my dinner, and then I'll realise what I've actually just went and done this afternoon, and then that'll kick in, give me a bit of a buzz, and then I'll start thinking, right, what's next?
Dave MacLeod's quest is being frustrated. In February, he headed across to the sea cliffs of Aberdeenshire. The prize, the second ascent of the region's hardest route, comfortably numb. Unfortunately for Dave, the route was already occupied by a local climber, Gordon Lennox. While Gordon climbs comfortably numb, Dave selects another objective. Round on the front face, he finds an E7 that looks perfect. Already cleaned and chalked up by the other party, there's no worry about loose rock and dirty holes.
It was a little bit scary because it's been a long time since I've done any on-sighting. So I don't really trust gear to fall onto at the moment. Like when I'm on-sighting, so I was climbing it really tense and using far too much energy and wobbling all over the place. But other than that, it was alright. The climbing was just really nice.
Okay, Mark, I'm safe!
After Gordon's success on Comfortably Numb, Dave could take his turn. The first ascent without pre-placed gear still remained to be claimed. The steep crackline is a stamina fest, and pausing to place gear is strength sapping. So Dave chooses to miss out some of the gear and sprints through to the top.
Well, every piece of gear that you place on this route adds a lot of difficulty because the route's so physical. You really want to move as fast as you can, so what I've decided to do is miss out about half the gear placements and just sprint through the hard climbing and just go from really quickly to the next good gear placement and miss out the rest. It's a little more dangerous that way, but it's the only way it's going to work.
What's the plan, Kev?
Just to get straight on this and load it, which will probably be the most terrifying thing I've done in my life. Because I think I've maybe left it just a bit too late in the day. The rock's slightly glassy, so it makes it pretty slippy, and there's nigh on no protection on this bit belt that I can place anyway. I think it's one of these routes that once you start on it, your mind just gets so into the climbing, you're not really thinking about potentially how bad it would be if you fell. There's only so long that you can go and pushing your luck and your limits and stuff like that before something potentially really bad could happen. But when I tried to think of myself, I thought, right, I'll give it on, take a step back, then I found that I couldn't. I just can't walk away for doing stuff like this. It's quite disturbing actually. I think if I fell off that route, then you'd probably be taking me home to my mother in a shoebox. If I didn't end up washed away out of there.
In the spring, James Pearson heads to the mountains of Wales for cool climbing conditions. Inspired by Ray Wood's iconic photograph of Leo Holding, James is psyched to make the second ascent of Trauma at Dinas Mott. Still unrepeated after 8 years, there are now 2 other climbers trying it, so the race is on.
Actually, just hold there a second.
The key to the route quickly becomes apparent, a crucial wire placement.
And sometimes it sits right at the front and gets caught, which you don't want. You just got to put make a real conscious effort to get it as far back as possible.
Above this, the crux section is long and complex. Hard moves on tiny crimps and edges. After just 2 or 3 sessions of working the moves, he ties on to go for the lead. His tactic is to place the first piece of gear and then reverse the moves back down to the belay. Five minutes later, and he's ready for the full lead.
speakers there. Fuck, that wasn't supposed to happen. Yeah, Laura's down. That's a sign.
A week later, James returns. Time for him is running out. One more day before he departs for a long trip abroad. The weather is far from helpful. A buffeting wind is making things difficult, threatening to throw him off balance.
Boxed. Really pumped, but yeah, it went well. Everything went like.
Another overseas climber enjoying a love affair with British trad is Germany's Jude Spanken. Based in Llanberis in North Wales, Jude has quietly emerged as one of the best female climbers in the country. She has already climbed several routes of E6 on site without pre-practicing the moves, something achieved by only a handful of top women climbers.
Gutted. Oh, I just got too tired to then reverse it.
Another very special route that Jude has long aspired to climb is the super classic Lord of the Flies at Dinas Cromulech.
Let's just hope that the holes will appear.
Yeah, they're all hiding there somewhere.
Yeah.
Just enjoy it, if you will.
This long single pitch of climbing has a reputation for being bold and serious.
It's just one of those routes I always wanted to do. Yeah, just beautiful. It's just a beautiful wall and really, really special climbing.
The route finding is also critical. It's easy to stray offline, following holds that lead off to blankness.
I have to admit, I had a few visions of falling off things. Definitely don't want to fall on that. No way. The only time I was really concerned was when I placed the skyhook and the little red cam, and you go for the next big pocket. I wouldn't have wanted to fall on those at all. And funny enough, I don't get this kind of, when I get to the top of climbs, this elated, hooray. It's more about the climbing, being on the rock, than actually finishing it and doing, I don't know, it's hard to explain. I think once I decide to do a route, I think about it a long time. I thought about this route for so long, so I'm really happy having done it now. No, I'm really pleased that I just enjoyed it. I just really enjoyed it. I'm quietly happy now, I think, yeah. It comes a bit later, that feeling, I think, but I think, oh, yeah. I'm not the celebration kind, I think. I just quietly go home, I think.
Each summer, a few teams of climbers will make their annual pilgrimage to the Isle of Pabay in the Outer Hebrides. Once home to over 100 hardy Scots, this bleak and remote island is now uninhabited. Climbers come here each year to enjoy the wilderness and to sample some of the most spectacular sea cliff climbing in the world.
I see the world from the view above uncertainty, and the worries seem to grow so small. I take a breath and taste the world I should be living in, but it's hard to think when you just don't have the time. And though it's more than I can do to keep my head above the water, it's more than I can do to make you smile. I know if you will stay here and you won't leave my side, then I won't let you down. Take my hand and let's go higher. When night is here and I can put away the books, I wanna make your life so good, I wanna make it all so well. It doesn't take much to give this world a chance. It doesn't take 1,000 years to make a bad choice not so rough. And though it's more than I can do to keep my head above the water, it's more than I can do to make you smile. I know if you will stay here and you won't leave my side, then I won't let you down. Take my hand and let's go higher.
Neil McNair is a character who likes his climbing experience to be an adventure. For him, perfection lies in an unclimbed line. Neil has been eyeing up a huge cliff without a single route on it. Teaming up with Dan McManus, he heads off up through the initial overhangs.
Better than nothing. Oh, yeah. Oh. That's a pumpy little number. Oh yeah. Oh, oh boy.
Now is the moment Dan has been dreading. Up ahead, the rock seems loose.
Come on, keep it together.
As Neil arrives at the second belay, he's told not to weight any of the gear. There are 5 pieces to protect it, but they're all quite dubious. Filled with such confidence, Neil heads upwards to try and find a way through the grooves and corners to the top.
Fuck. Oh my God.
We're alive. That was horrendous.
In the mid-80s, a new standard of hard trad climbing was emerging.
Well done, well done. Oh!
At the forefront of this new wave was the immense vision and talent of a true climbing legend, Johnny Dawes. In 1986, not only did Johnny establish 3 new E8s, but here on the Welsh crag Clogwyn Dŵr Arddu, he climbed the most inspired new route in the sport's recent history, Indian Face. Generally recognised as the boldest undertaking on British rock at the time, it is thin, sustained, and deadly serious. 21 years on, and this, the first E9 in Britain, has received just 2 repeats. It's no surprise that Indian Face has been on the hit list of Dave MacLeod for some time.
When I started climbing, it was still like, you know, one of the hardest routes in the country. It was the first E9 in the world, so I guess I've been really interested in it ever since I started climbing. It's just got such a massive reputation, and like for good reason, because although like there's lots of people in the country and the world that could easily, you know, top rope it, I think there's still very, very few climbers anywhere that would lead that route. So that's, I think it's deserved its reputation. You know, it's hardcore. Top roped the route cleanly twice, first try, so pretty good start. Don't know. The description, Johnny Dawes' description says obligatory death from the last 20 feet, but I'm not sure if it's obligatory. I think it's just, I don't know, what's the word? Virtually guaranteed, but not completely.
So technically, it's a whirling mass of possibility to fall off, because it could easily snap the rocks. It's really solid, but it's snappy. So you're dealing with something basically which is like it's like swimming around it, you know, with a great white shark. It really is.
Oh, cramping feet. I might come up tomorrow and try it again. So I'll see how I got on tomorrow.
On the way to the summit in an amazing 72 days. Joint forces. What's that?
Strange. It's easy climbing, but it's the only thing it's not easy on is your feet. You're just like teetering up the wall, standing on these little small edges. I'm trying to imagine what would make you fall off. I think the only thing that would make me fall off, if once I get a bit more wired, would be if a hold broke or my foot just randomly slipped off. I came down to try it with the outlook that I'd just walk away from it without giving it a second thought if it didn't feel right, or I didn't have the right motivation to do it. And after today, I'm still not sure. Yeah, I don't think I'm very psyched. I don't think I'm going to do the route. It's just, if I'm going to really risk my neck, which is what you would do if you led this, then it's for the right reason, and I'm really motivated by the climbing. So I'm not really in this case, so I'm just going to do something else. Yeah, I think while we're down in Wales, I think I might go and try Trauma, because it's a steeper route, and it might suit me a little bit better.
After a few hours of working the moves, Dave is tired, but keen to get on the lead. The tactics that a climber employs on a route can have a major impact on the overall difficulty. Like James, Dave climbs as far as placing the first piece. Then he elects to try a second pass, placing the key wire.
Flick.
The climb down from here is desperate, but it will allow him to blast through on his next go without having to stop.
No, that's you. That's you. Nice one. That's you. Good now. Come on. Come on, David.
Ready at last, Dave sets off.
Okay, Claire. That was quite full on. I was tired from the down climb. To properly fight there. Thank you.
In the spring, one of the world's best trad climbers made his own pilgrimage from Canada to Scotland to check out what is possibly the world's hardest route. Sonnie Trotter has an impressive climbing CV. He has pioneered or repeated many hard trad routes in North America, including the first ascent of Cobra Crack in Squamish. With a rating of 514B, it's known as the world's hardest crack climb. After meeting Dave MacLeod in Canada and seeing the film E11, Sonnie was psyched. Several months later, he headed to Scotland to check out Rhapsody.
The route's absolutely brilliant. It's really, really, really awesome. Kind of reminds me of a tombstone, tilted on end, sort of looming over you, which may be a little bit symbolic in a way. You know, it's thin, kind of a style of climbing. It's very technical. There's loads of features, but none of them are any good. You know, I read in a magazine that it was basically 13D to V11 boulder problem, and after trying it, I could probably concur. Here, the rock's very slick, very thin, so you find yourself having to squeeze very, very hard. I do anyway. I've got to almost over grip just to stay on. Hold after hold after hold after hold like that. It's not like you do 2 moves and then you get a bucket. You know, you have to go, you know, you have to grab each hold consistently perfect in order to continue going. And that's what makes the route so challenging. Yeah, but Dave was really open with his beta and sort of combining his with my own thoughts on the route, my own interpretation. I found that it came together actually quite quickly. Climbing.
Sonnie makes great progress, linking the route in 2 sections. But time runs out before he gets a chance to attempt the lead. He plans to return and finish what he's started.
We try not to take anything too seriously, really. I don't want to beat myself up over a climb. You know? If it was bolted, or if someone had put in a bolt somewhere, or Dave decided to climb it in another style, I probably wouldn't have come all the way over here to try it, because to me it's a special route, and everyone we've met here have been really amazing people, and kind of love the area. I mean, where else do you get to climb, you know, 514 trad on top of a castle by the ocean? Nowhere.
So what is the future? Where are the next breakthroughs in difficulty and risk going to come? The modern era of hard trad began back in the 1980s, with E8s and E9s put up by leading climbers of the time, like Dawes, Cuthbertson, Dixon and Dunn. During the 90s, the grade of E8 was no longer the sole preserve of a tiny elite, particularly on the gritstone crags of Yorkshire and the Peak District. But hard grit was not the whole story. Climbers like Dunn, Dixon and Burkitt were putting up hard routes away from the gritstone outcrops, in the mountains of the Lake District, Ireland and Wales. Burkitt in particular climbed many hard routes on mountain crags. The hardest by far was if 6 was 9. It was a major step forward in climbing standards. In the new millennium, 2 things have happened. Others have caught up to Burkitt's level and are doing fast descents of E9s, though generally away from the mountains. And a tiny elite have now gone past to a new level. Dave MacLeod's ambition is even harder and bolder lines on the mountain crags of Scotland.
Well, I have a project right now on Ben Nevis, and I felt like to climb it I would have to be a minimum standard. I would have to be climbing 9A on bolts. But that might seem unremarkable, but to do this project you have to be there on the mountain for most of the summer, and you have to be up and miss a lot of days because of bad weather and trying to just generally do mountain trad. So actually maintaining that level of fitness but still trad climbing a lot is quite a hard balancing act. I think hard trad can progress with climbers being fitter. I think that's the main thing, is that the standard of difficulty of the climbing is going to get a lot higher, and in a situation where you're still under a lot of danger.
because people now climb 8C, 9A, I think some of the routes will start to get on-sighted that are certainly the E8s and E9s will start to get on-sighted. There are a few last major gaps, and I think there are possibilities there that people may plug.
You know, we've had a new beginning, but we haven't had the next step. I don't feel. Probably that James Pearson route is probably, you know, the next step on. Whether or not it's a good idea to climb these routes that are so dangerous, I'm not sure.
Perhaps the most striking development is the growing number of women reaching towards the top grades. To break into hard trad, Catherine Schermacher has spent years sport climbing and bouldering to get stronger and fitter. Now she's ready to step up to the challenge of her first E7. Only a small elite group of women have climbed at this grade before, and Catherine's choice of route here at Burbage South is no soft touch. Only America's Lisa Rands has ever climbed harder.
Well, E7 has always been a long-term, fluffy aim of mine that I just thought, oh yes, it'd be nice to climb E7. And Balance It is just this incredible soaring arête. Just the only handholds are the arête. It doesn't matter how strong you are on crimps or how big your biceps are. Effectively, it comes down to how well you can move on the rock. I like the sense of the moves, that they're barely there, but they seem to just about work.
Come on, just do it, do it, do it.
No way! Damn it! Right, yeah, okay, I'm having one more go. Last night I started to feel nervous. Haven't really felt nervous at all, but then I really started to feel nervous, and just imagining the nth possibility of what could go wrong. Come on.
Come on.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, solid. Come on. Come on. Come on.
Come on. Climb it. Climb it.
You've got this.
Climb it. Come on.
Sit. Sit, you're there. You've got it, come on. Come on, top it out, Catherine. Well done, Catherine, that was fucking excellent. Come on! E7.
Oh, yeah! Feels like I've taken this drug that everybody else has been taking for years, the hard grit head pointing drug. And I thought, oh no, I'm not having that drug. And then suddenly it's like, oh my goodness, what have I been missing out on? So I can definitely see myself doing some more head pointing in the future. It's easy for me to sit here and say it now, but I have, you know, I have ideas that I'd like to do something like that.